Henry, testing times for Ireland, of course, at the moment, and what's happening with the telecommunications industry in relation to the Irish financial crisis?
Well, a very good question, Paul. If you look at the Telecoms performance, the sector performance over the last 2 years, things have been quite grim reading. The sector, we've seen a decline in revenue for the last 10 successive quarters, from a high of about 1.2 billion euros in the last quarter of 2007, tumbling down steadily to about 940 million in the second quarter of 2010. This is really a reflection on consumer reticence to spend on anything more than essential services. And it's also a reflection on the general economic malaise affecting the economy as a whole. And this is really due to the irresponsibility of the banks during the last 2.5 years, leading the government last year to bail out the banking sector, the three national banks, to the tune of about 50 billion euros. Very recently, the government itself has had to be bailed out by the IMF and the European Central Bank, potentially up to 90 billion euros. And what this means is that the government is going to have to, is going to be obliged, whether this government, coalition government, or a new government which may be elected at the beginning of next year, if an election is called, most probable. What this means is that a 4-year economic austerity plan will be introduced, hoping to realise about 15 billion euros, 5 billion from raised taxes, 15 billion from reduced spending on public services. In the telecoms arena, there's no indication yet that telecoms investment from the public funding arena will be affected. One of these commitments, for example, is 435 million euros for national broadband infrastructure focused on the rural areas. This seems like a sacred cow, because it is very important for rural communities. So, as I said, there's no indication that public funding will be removed or curtailed in the foreseeable future. That 435 million is part of the broadband plan, which is written in stone until 2013. On a positive note, we can see that the telecoms sector, as a proportion to GDP, is contributing more now than it was 2 years ago. So, stepping back, you can see that the sector is stronger than many other areas of the economy. On an international level, you can also see a recent report from the OECD, which estimates that ICT revenue will increase 4% this year, another 4% next year. So, for investors, even in difficult times, the telecom sector seems as safe a bet as any other.
Thank you very much, Henry.